disgusting. It's so phony. I can't think of bigger lies, but that exactly goes to show you what the DNC and what the Clinton camp will do. They will lie and do anything to win.
Don't you just love it when there's video of you lying? That was an indignant Donald Trump Jr. on CNN in July of 2016, blasting accusations by the Clinton campaign that the Russian government was working to help his father get elected by hurting Hillary Clinton. Ooh, but how tables have turned. Yesterday, Trump Jr. released this email chain, and only because the New York Times was about to actually release it. This shows the exchange between him and a representative of the Russian government. And in the email, they lay out point blank, they wanted to meet with him to talk about how the Russian government has dirt on Hillary Clinton in order to help his father's campaign. He called it lovely if they had the goods. When was this? Several days in June of 2016, 6 weeks before Mr. Indignant went on CNN. Rob Goldstone, the talent manager with connections to the Miss Universe pageant, was the intermediary trying to set up the meeting between Trump Jr. and a Russian lawyer with ties to the Kremlin. Now, here's what's interesting again about all of this. Goldstone wrote to Trump Jr. that the attorney, quote, offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. So, what did little Donald do? He responded, quote, thanks, Rob. I appreciate that. If it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. The meeting with the Russian lawyer who flew in from Moscow took place on June 9th. Where? At Trump Tower. Who was in the meeting? Little Trump, Trump's son-in-law and now senior advisor Jared Kushner, and then campaign manager Paul Manafort. And last night, little Trump appeared on Fox News. He said he never spoke to the lawyer again and never told his father because the meeting amounted to nothing.
In retrospect, I probably would have done things a little differently. Again, this is before the Russia mania. This is before they were building it up in the press. For me, this was opposition research. They had something, maybe concrete evidence to all the stories I'd been hearing about, but they were probably underreported for, years, not just during the campaign. So I think I wanted to hear it out. But really, it went nowhere, and it was apparent that that wasn't what the meeting was actually about.
So he wanted to hear what the Russian government had on Hillary Clinton. He didn't think to call the FBI that a foreign entity was trying to impact the election. There was just nothing, so I ignored it. Then he said, of course, it was all these different things that were going on. It was just months. No, actually, because if you actually trace the comments, Daddy Trump doesn't start attacking Hillary Clinton in her emails and calling for Russia to grab them until after this meeting. Joining us right now from Philadelphia via phone, Malcolm Nance, counterterrorism intelligence advisor, author of The Plot to Hack America, How Putin Cyber Spies and WikiLeaks Tried to Steal the 2016 Election. Joining me on my panel, Greg Carr, chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University, Liz Copeland, founder and president of the Urban Conservative Project, Spencer Overton, president of the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. Malcolm.
Good morning.
Little Trump has issues.
When you were reading those emails earlier, I thought it would be much more interesting if you read them in the voice of Elmo. But, we are now crossing the Rubicon that the Republicans have staked their entire existence on, that there was no collusion, even though last week they were floating if there was collusion, it's legal timeline. We are now seeing where we have entities that I predicted in my book, Plot to Hack America, a year ago, that there was a bridge between Russian intelligence, the Kremlin itself, directly to the Trump campaign. And I really appreciate Donald Trump Jr. Coming out and verifying all of this for me.
And the thing that's interesting is that you had Daddy Trump saying, Russian hoax, I'm owed an apology. And another leak, and then all of a sudden another report. And here's what's crazy. This information was given to the New York Times from inside of the White House. There are people clearly in the White House who know something is wrong with this man, know that it is illegitimate, and they are saying, you know what? He hates leaks, but there are clear patriots who say, I'm putting country above party and above Trump.
Well, there's some speculation about what the source of this story was, and I know two people who very well known that believe that it actually may have come from a defense attorney, believing that this information was going to be explosive and needed to be out before his client would start facing perjury charges. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. The important component of this is that we now know that the Russian government was using multiple lines of inquiry into getting their way and getting information into the hands of Donald Trump. What's most notable about this, and I wrote an entire chapter on it in my book, was the relationship between two characters who came up with Donald Trump in Donald Trump's life during the Miss Universe pageant. That's Ermin Alagarov and his father, Aras Alagarov. And Ermin they loved Donald Trump in Russia. They thought The Apprentice was like one of the top-ranked shows in that country. He was a pop singer, and he got Donald Trump to come to Russia. His father bankrolled the entire Miss Universe. They're both billionaires, multi-billionaires, worth $21 billion. And Trump went there and was enamored with these people, Russia and Russian money. And this is the genesis of where Donald Trump's beliefs about Russia being a pinnacle nation because they have a lot of money and we're giving it to him came from. They were the people named in the email, Ermin and Aras Alagarov, who were the ones that got to Donald Trump.
And Malcolm, at the end of the day, and I keep saying this, the fact that Daddy Trump will not say anything negative about Putin or Russia says it all.
Well, I mean, you know, when you're a gambler in debt, you don't ever insult your bookie, right? I mean, these are people that he has that have some sway over him. And this is precisely what the emoluments clause of the Constitution was about, so that you would never be in debt to a foreign power and would not act in the interest of a foreign power. Now, there is one thing I'd like to note, because a writer for the Huffington Post, Christina Wilkie, made a very interesting arc related to the timeline. They had their meeting with Miss Vasilnaya, the Russian lawyer, at 4 p.m., and it ran 20 to 30 minutes. 15 minutes after that meeting ended, Donald Trump sent his first tweet mentioning Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails. You know, there's in my business, the intelligence business, we have a saying, coincidence takes a lot of planning. And in this case, Donald Trump, we call that Nance's Law, by the way, Donald Trump clearly was briefed in about this meeting, anticipated this meeting, giving them information, even though they didn't get anything out of that meeting. He either knew through this line of inquiry, or he had multiple lines going out, and that's what I asserted in my book last July.
Got it.
So this is only going to expand.
Malcolm Nance, we appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
All right, go to our panel here. Liz, I'll start with you. Republicans are like, oh my God, really? They have been defending Donald Trump. They've been saying, okay, no evidence, no evidence. This is now a problem.
This is a problem, but just for clarification, John McCain has always had a problem with it. He's always had a problem, and even Lindsey Graham. But
I'm going beyond them. I'm talking about now all of a sudden you have folks who are going, okay, I can't defend this nonsense on TV.
No Republican should defend Don Jr.'s intent to collude. The lawyer wasn't a Russian government lawyer, but the intent of senior members of Trump's campaign to work with a hostile nation to influence our presidential election should concern all Americans, but it doesn't. A recent Vox poll showed that 83% of Republicans say it's a distraction, and 83% of Democrats polled said it's a huge issue. Everyone should be concerned about this.
But here's the piece, Spencer. If you go back, and I keep telling people, if you go back to Watergate, everybody has to remember, Nixon was reelected. Even after Watergate happened. Watergate took 900 days. It took a long time for that thing to bubble up and for people to say, okay, this is what it is. What is happening is, we said before, we had was down here, oh, okay, Manafort, okay, this guy Carter Page, and then it sort of comes up. Now to have Donald Trump Jr. with an email that says the Russian government is trying to help your dad. Now that thing is gone a little bit higher. I would think those numbers are going to drop on the Republican side.
It's like McDonald's, right? I'm loving it, right? He's like, I love it here, and let it come out later. Can you imagine if Michelle Obama and Valerie Jarrett had met with Kenyan government officials or someone related to Kenyan government in order to support Barack Obama? Folks would have gone crazy and ballistic on this. Part of this comes down to the fact that government is different from business here, and when you run a government and a campaign like it's about business, it's about self-interest, then you become, like, frankly, a developing country where things are mixed up and folks can be paid off, and you're not really the leader of the free world. We've really lost our status.
Greg, again, what we're seeing now, all this is just fake news.
No, I mean, let's be clear. They're calling the Trumps the Corleones. No. Don Corleone was a good businessman. So let's be clear about that. The Trumps are not even amateur politicians. This is all about debt. He couldn't get any more financing here, so he went to Russia. And once he did that, everything is over from there. What does that mean? That means that now all the stuff's going to start coming out. Jared Kushner is the same thing with real estate. They're getting financed from the Russians. So they are in the tank. But everybody has a different agenda. The Bannon folk want to make this a white nationalist state. You got the GOP's about to be crazy because they got their budget coming up. They want to raise the debt ceiling. They got an FBI director to confirm. They want more judges. These are three different streams, but at the head of it, Donald Trump never was supposed to be president. He didn't even want it. He was just trying to burnish his brand as he moves from real estate and failed casinos to the Trump brand. Unfortunately, he caught the car. Once he caught the car, everybody's just holding their breath, praying they can get something on his desk to sign before he implodes. And notice Mike Pence. I wasn't there. I didn't know.
And in fact, real quick, folks, this was the comment from VP Mike's from his press secretary. The vice president was not aware of the meeting. He is not focused on stories about the campaign, particularly stories about the time before he joined the ticket.
Come on.
Okay, let me translate.
Go ahead, Roland.
Y'all, come on. Look, my name Bennett. I ain't in it. I don't know them people. I ain't know them people. I wasn't on the ticket. I ain't trying to be in that. You know why? Because I'm preparing myself to be president when he gets impeached.
There you go.
So don't call me. Don't email me. Don't text me. I ain't got nothing with it. That's the translation of VP Mike Pence.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh, my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.